The conference room on Harmony Point Station floated in the emptiness between stars. Inside, representatives from 24 worlds sat around a massive circular table. The air smelled of recycled oxygen and alien perfumes that made human noses itch. Taewon stood near the back wall, his hands clasped behind his back. He wore a simple gray suit, nothing fancy. His black hair was cut short and neat. His face showed no emotion as he watched the aliens argue. They had been arguing for 3 hours now. The Velcoran delegation sat at the head of the table. They were tall beings nearly 8 feet high, with silver skin that shimmered under the lights. Their eyes were large and golden, and they moved with the grace of dancers. They wore flowing robes covered in jewels that probably cost more than a small planet. Emperor Daeho sat in the center of the Velcoran group. He was older than the others, with lines around his eyes that spoke of many years. He listened carefully to every word spoken in the room. Beside him sat his daughter, Princess Yuna. She was beautiful by any standard, human or alien. Her silver skin gleamed like polished metal. Her golden eyes missed nothing. But when those eyes looked at the human delegation, they filled with disgust. The Thorian swarm advances on 3 fronts, Admiral Bora said, pointing to a holographic map floating above the table. Red markers showed enemy positions. They were spreading like a disease across the galaxy. They have taken 14 colony worlds in the past month alone. Our fleets cannot hold them back. Then we must strengthen our defenses, said a delegate from the Corvin Republic. Build more ships, train more soldiers. There is no time, Emperor Daeho said quietly. His voice carried authority that made everyone stop talking. The swarm adapts faster than we can build. They learn from every battle. What works today fails tomorrow. Princess Yuna leaned forward. Which is why we must seek unconventional solutions. She said the last words like they tasted bad. All eyes turned to the small human delegation in the corner. There were only 3 of them. Humanity was new to the galactic stage, barely 50 years since first contact. Most species still saw them as children playing with toys they did not understand. Captain Minho stepped forward. He was older than Taewon, with gray in his hair and scars on his hands. Our forces have fought the swarm on 7 occasions. We have won 6 times. We lost once, but we learned from it. Impossible, said a delegate from the Yitrian Confederacy. The swarm overwhelms all opposition. How could humans, barely able to travel between stars, defeat them? Minho smiled. It was not a nice smile. We fight different. We think different. The swarm expects predictable tactics. We give them chaos instead. Princess Yuna laughed. It was a cold sound, like ice breaking. You speak of chaos as if it were strategy. Humans stumbled into the stars barely knowing how to tie their own shoes. You have no grand fleets, no ancient military traditions. You simply throw bodies at problems and hope something works. Taewon's face did not change. He had heard worse, much worse. Emperor Daeho raised his hand, silencing his daughter. Nevertheless, the humans have results we need. Admiral Bora has studied their combat reports. Their methods are crude but effective. Crude? Minho said, raising an eyebrow. We call it adaptive. Call it what you wish, the Emperor said. I call it necessary. The Velcoran Empire requires human military assistance. In exchange, we offer technology, resources, and protection for your colony worlds. We would be honored to assist, Minho said. But we have conditions. Princess Yuna made a sound of disgust. Conditions? You hairless apes should be grateful we even speak to you. Yuna, her father said sharply. She closed her mouth, but her eyes burned with anger. Minho continued as if nothing had happened. We need full access to your intelligence networks. We need command authority over joint operations. And we need assurance that our methods will not be questioned by your military command. Ridiculous, Admiral Bora said. You ask us to hand over control to a species that learned to build starships by copying our designs. You can refuse, Minho said calmly. And you can lose this war by yourselves. Your choice. The room fell silent. The truth hurt, but it was still truth. The Velcoran Empire was losing. Without help, they would fall. And if they fell, the swarm would consume half the galaxy. Emperor Deho stood. Everyone in the room stood with him out of respect. There is another way. A way that binds our peoples together more strongly than any treaty. Taiwan felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. He knew what was coming. A marriage alliance, the Emperor said. Between my eldest daughter, Princess Yuna, and a representative of humanity. This would make our people's family. Your warriors would defend the Empire as their own. Our resources would be yours to command. Princess Yuna stood so fast her chair fell backward. Father, no, you cannot be serious. I am completely serious, he said. His voice was soft but firm. This is the old way. It has kept peace between worlds for 10,000 years. The old way was meant for civilized species, Yuna shouted. Not for these creatures who barely know which end of a weapon to hold. Taiwan finally spoke. His voice was quiet, calm, unremarkable. I will do it. Everyone turned to look at him. Minho's eyes went wide. Taiwan, you don't have to. I will do it. Taiwan repeated. If it saves lives and wins the war, I will marry the princess. Princess Yuna stared at him like he was an insect that had just spoken. You? You would dare? Taiwan met her golden eyes with his dark ones. I would dare. Father, look at him. Yuna gestured at Taiwan. He is nobody. Nothing. A common soldier in cheap clothing. I am a princess of the Velcoran Empire. I will not be married to this. This will happen, Emperor Deho said. His tone allowed no argument. For the Empire, for our people. You will marry him, Yuna. In 3 days' time, the ceremony will take place here on Harmony Point. All the galaxy will witness it. Princess Yuna's face twisted with rage and humiliation. She looked at Taiwan with pure hatred. Fine. But know this, human. You may share my title, but you will never share my respect. You will be nothing more than a pet I am forced to keep, a reminder of my people's desperation. Taiwan bowed slightly. As the princess wishes. The meeting ended soon after. As the delegates filed out, Minho pulled Taiwan aside. Are you sure about this? She will make your life hell. Taiwan watched Princess Yuna leave the room, her silver robes flowing behind her like water. The mission is what matters. If this marriage helps win the war, then it is worth any price. You always were too noble for your own good, Minho said, shaking his head. Taiwan smiled faintly. Someone has to be. 3 days later, Taiwan stood in the grand ceremonial hall of Harmony Point. He wore formal clothing provided by the Velcorans. It fit poorly and felt uncomfortable. Around him, thousands of delegates from hundreds of worlds watched the ceremony. Princess Yuna stood across from him. She wore a wedding dress that cost more than most spaceships. She looked beautiful and miserable in equal measure. When the priest asked if she accepted this marriage, she said, I do, in a voice that could freeze stars. When Taiwan said his vows, he meant every word. He would protect her. He would honor the alliance. He would do whatever was needed. Princess. Yuna did not look at him once during the entire ceremony. When it was finished and they were declared married, she turned and walked away without a word. She did not take his hand. She did not smile. She simply left. Taiwan watched her go. Then he went back to his quarters to prepare for the war ahead. The marriage had begun. Everything else would follow. The Imperial Palace on Velcora Prime was more beautiful than anything Taiwan had ever seen. Towers of crystal reached toward the purple sky. Gardens filled with plants from 1,000 worlds grew in perfect harmony. Rivers of pure water flowed through channels carved from silver stone. Taiwan stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city. Below him, millions of Velcorans went about their daily lives. They looked like moving jewels in the sunlight. Still staring at the scenery like a tourist? He turned. Jiwon stood in the doorway holding 2 cups of tea. She was the only other human in the palace, assigned as a cultural attaché. She was younger than Taewon, with kind eyes and a patient smile. "Just thinking," Taewon said, accepting the tea. "About how your wife has not spoken to you in 2 weeks?" Jiwon asked. Among other things, it had been 14 days since they arrived on Velcora Prime. Princess Yuna had assigned him quarters on the opposite side of the palace from her own rooms. She made it clear he was not welcome in her presence unless absolutely necessary. "She held another party last night," Jiwon said carefully. "I heard she introduced you to the guests as her diplomatic obligation." Taewon sipped his tea. "I have been called worse. That does not make it right." "No," he agreed. "But it does not change the mission either. The alliance is what matters." "My feelings do not," Jiwon shook her head. "You are too good for this, Taewon. They treat you like dirt and you just accept it." Before he could respond, Lady Hana appeared in the doorway. She was Princess Yuna's lady-in-waiting, a smaller Velcoran with copper-colored skin and bright green eyes. Unlike most Velcorans, she was always polite to the humans. "Excuse me," Lady Hana said, "but the princess requires your presence at the evening gathering. Many important nobles will attend. She wishes you to be there." "To show me off like a pet?" Taewon asked quietly. Lady Hana looked uncomfortable. I am sorry, yes. "I will be there," Taewon said. "Thank you for informing me, Lady Hana." After she left, Jiwon said, "You do not have to go." "Yes, I do." That evening, Taewon walked through the palace halls toward the great ballroom. He wore formal clothing again, still uncomfortable, still fitting poorly. Velcoran guards watched him pass with barely hidden disgust. The ballroom was enormous. Chandeliers made of living light hung from the ceiling. Music played from invisible instruments. Hundreds of nobles danced and talked and drank expensive wine. Princess Yuna stood in the center of a crowd of admirers. She wore a dress that seemed to be made of starlight itself. She laughed at something someone said, the sound like crystal bells. Then she saw Taewon. Her smile vanished. "Ah," she said loudly, making sure everyone could hear. "My husband has arrived. Come, pet. Let me introduce you to civilized society." The nobles around her laughed. Taewon walked forward calmly. He bowed to the group. "Your Highness, my lords and ladies, this is Taewon," Princess Yuna said, pronouncing his name like it tasted bad. "A human. They are the newest species to join the galactic community. They barely understand how to operate a starship without crashing it into a moon." More laughter. A tall noble with blue skin stepped forward. "I have heard humans claim to be warriors. Is this true?" "Some of us are," Taewon said. "And you? Are you a warrior?" "I have served in the military, yes," the blue noble smiled. "Then you must accept my challenge. A friendly duel, just to test the famous human combat skills." "I must respectfully decline," Taewon said. The noble's smile grew wider. "You refuse? Why? Are you afraid?" "I simply see no purpose in fighting without cause." "The cause is honor," the noble said. "Or do humans not understand that concept?" Princess Yuna watched with cold eyes. "Well, husband, will you defend your honor? Or prove that humans are cowards who hide behind their machines?" Taewon looked at her. For just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Something dangerous. Then it was gone. "I will not fight for entertainment. If that makes me a coward in your eyes, so be it." The blue noble laughed. "Pathetic. The princess was right about your kind." Taewon bowed again and walked away. Behind him, he heard the laughter grow louder. He heard Princess Yuna say something about disappointing but expected. He kept walking. In a quiet corner of the ballroom, Admiral Bora watched the scene. She was old for a Velcoran, her silver skin dulled with age. She had fought in more wars than most people could count. She turned to her aide and said, "Interesting." "What is interesting, Admiral?" the aide asked. "That human. He carries himself like a soldier. A real soldier. Not a parade ground recruit, but he refused to fight. He ran away." "No," Admiral Bora said thoughtfully. "He chose not to fight." "There is a difference." Over the following weeks, the pattern repeated. Princess Yuna held parties and gatherings. She always made sure Taewon was there. She always found new ways to humiliate him. She called him her pet, her servant, her burden. The nobles challenged him to duels. He always declined. They mocked his clothing, his appearance, his species. He never responded with anger, but Taewon did not waste his time. During the day, while Princess Yuna slept or entertained her friends, he studied. He requested access to military reports about the Thorian swarm. He read about Velkaran defenses, their strategies, their past battles, Lady Hana noticed. She often found him in the palace library, surrounded by data pads and holographic displays. He made notes in a small book he carried everywhere. "You study our military records," she observed one day. Taewon looked up. "Is that not allowed?" "It is allowed," she said. "I am just surprised. Most people in your position would spend their time feeling sorry for themselves." "Feeling sorry for myself would not help anyone," Taewon said. "But understanding your enemy might." Lady Hana sat down across from him. "You really care about winning this war?" "Of course. That is why I am here. Not for glory? Not for power?" Taewon smiled slightly. "I have no interest in either. I am here to do a job. Nothing more." Lady Hana studied him for a long moment. "You are not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone angry? Someone bitter? The princess treats you terribly. You should hate her. Hate takes energy," Taewon said. "I would rather use that energy to be useful." The weeks turned into a month, then 2 months. The Thorian swarm continued to advance. More worlds fell. The Velkoran military struggled to adapt to the enemy's tactics. Admiral Bora called several strategy meetings. She did not invite Taewon, but he always found ways to listen. He stood outside conference rooms. He read reports that were left unattended. He talked to low-ranking soldiers who were happy to complain to someone who listened. One evening, he was studying fortification plans for the palace itself when Jiwon found him. "The news is bad," she said. "The swarm has broken through the outer defense perimeter. They are moving faster than predicted." Taewon looked at the map spread before him. Red markers showed enemy positions. They were close, too close. "How long until they reach Velkora Prime?" he asked. 2 weeks, maybe less if they do not stop to consolidate their gains. Taewon stood and walked to the window. The capital city sparkled in the night, millions of people who had no idea what was coming for them. "Have they called for an emergency council?" he asked. "Yes, tomorrow. All the military commanders will be there." "And Princess Yuna? She will lead the meeting. The Emperor is off-world dealing with the outer colonies. She's in command of the home defense." Taewon closed his eyes. Princess Yuna had no military experience. She was smart and educated, but she had never fought a real battle. And now she would be responsible for defending the entire capital world. "I need to be at that meeting," he said. Jiwon looked doubtful. "They will never let you in. You are just the princess's husband. You have no official military rank here." "Then I will listen from outside the room." The next day, Taewon made his way to the war room. Guards stopped him at the door. "The meeting is for military personnel only," one guard said. "I am married to the princess," Taewon said. "Surely that grants me some access." "You are human," the guard said, saying the word like a curse. "You have no business in matters of war." Through the door, Taewon could hear raised voices. He could hear Princess Yuna trying to maintain control of the meeting. He could hear Admiral Bora describing the swarm's advance he tried to enter. The guards pushed him back. Not roughly, but firmly. "Please," Taewon said. "I have information that could help." "Go away, pet," the guard said. "This is not a place for you." Taewon stood there for a moment longer. Then he bowed his head and walked away. The guards laughed as he left. Inside the war room, Princess Yuna felt panic rising in her chest. The situation was worse than she had imagined. The swarm was adapting to every defense they prepared. Nothing was working. "We need new strategies," she said. "Something the swarm has not seen before." Admiral Bora spoke carefully. "Your Highness, perhaps we should consult with the humans. They have experience fighting the swarm in ways we do not." "The humans?" Princess Yuna laughed, but it was a nervous sound. "What could they possibly teach us? They barely know how to hold a weapon properly." "They have won battles against the swarm," Admiral Bora said. "We have not, because they are lucky," Princess Yuna snapped. "Because the swarm underestimates them just as we do. That is not strategy. That is accident." The meeting continued for hours. No good solutions were found. When it finally ended, Princess Yuna returned to her quarters exhausted and afraid. The alarm started screaming at dawn. Taewon was already awake. He had been standing on his balcony watching the sky. He had seen the first ships break through the atmosphere. They looked like falling stars, but he knew better. They were drop pods. Thousands of them. The Thorian swarm had arrived. Jiwan ran into his room without knocking. Her face was pale. They are here. How did they get here so fast? They split their forces, Taewon said calmly, still watching the sky. They sent a smaller strike group ahead while we watched the main fleet. Classic misdirection, what do we do? Taewon turned from the window. We survive. Get to the secure bunkers beneath the palace. Take all the non-military personnel with you. What about you? I need to find the princess. Are you insane? She hates you. Let her guards protect her. Taewon walked past Jiwan toward the door. That is not an option. Go now. The palace had transformed into chaos. Servants ran in every direction. Guards rushed to defensive positions. Somewhere in the distance, weapons fire echoed. The swarm was already inside the city. Taewon moved through the corridors with purpose. He had spent months memorizing the palace layout. He knew every hallway, every secret passage, every defensive position. The information he had studied was now burning clear in his mind. He found Lady Hana running toward the princess's quarters. Is she still there? He called. Lady Hana stopped, relieved to see him. Yes, she is coordinating the defense from her chambers. The war room was damaged in the first strike. Get to safety, Taewon said. I will get her to the secure command center. She will not listen to you. She will when she sees what is coming. Taewon ran. Behind him, an explosion shook the palace. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered. The swarm was pushing deeper into the defensive perimeter faster than anyone had predicted. He reached Princess Yuna's quarters and pushed through the doors without knocking. Royal guards raised their weapons, but Lady Hana had followed and vouched for him. Princess Yuna stood over a holographic map, shouting orders into a communication device. Her beautiful face was tight with stress. When she saw Taewon, her eyes flashed with anger. What are you doing here? The palace is not secure, Taewon said. You need to move to the underground command center. I am perfectly safe here. My guards will protect me. Your guards are trained to fight other Velkarans, Taewon said. Not the swarm. The swarm does not care about honor or rules. They will tear through your defenses like paper. How dare you? Another explosion, much closer this time. The floor shook. Somewhere nearby, people screamed. The sound of weapons fire was getting louder. Admiral Bora's voice came through the communication device. Your Highness, the outer palace walls have been breached. Swarm warriors are entering the grounds. You must evacuate immediately. Princess Yuna's face went pale. She looked at the map. The defensive positions were collapsing one by one. Red markers showing enemy positions were spreading like a plague across the display. How is this possible? She whispered. We had defenses. We had weapons. How are they breaking through so easily? Because your defenses were designed to fight conventional forces, Taewon said. The swarm is not conventional. They use bioweapons. They adapt in real time. Every strategy you try, they learn from it and counter it. Then what do we do? For the first time, Princess Yuna looked at him without disgust. She looked afraid. We fall back to defensible positions, Taewon said. We use the palace architecture against them. We make them fight on our terms, not theirs. You speak like you know what you are doing. I do. Princess Yuna stared at him. She wanted to refuse his help. Her pride screamed at her to send him away. But the sounds of battle were getting closer, and her military advisors were failing, and she had no other options. Fine, she said through gritted teeth. What do you suggest? Taewon moved to the holographic map. His fingers flew over the controls marking positions. The throne room. It is the most defensible location in the palace. Thick walls, limited entry points. We can funnel the swarm into kill zones. But my father's advisors are in the war room. The medical facilities are in the East Wing. We cannot abandon. If we do not consolidate our forces, everyone dies, Taewon said. His voice was not cruel, just honest. The swarm does not take prisoners. They consume everything. We save who we can and hold the line. Princess Yuna looked at the map. She looked at her guards. She looked at Taewon. Then she took a deep breath. Do it. Get everyone to the throne room. Admiral Bora, did you hear that? I heard, Your Highness, the Admiral's voice came back. We are already falling back. The swarm is pushing hard. I estimate 10 minutes before they reach the inner palace. We will be ready, Princess Yuna said. She looked at Taewon. Lead the way, human. They moved through the palace with Princess Yuna's guards forming a protective circle. Taewon walked ahead. choosing routes that avoided the heaviest fighting. Twice they encountered swarm scouts, small fast creatures with razor claws. The guards killed them, but not before the creatures wounded 2 soldiers. Taewon watched how the guards fought. They were brave but inefficient. They used too much movement, wasted too much energy. They fought like they were in a training arena, not a war. The throne room was massive. The ceiling reached up 5 stories. Pillars of carved crystal supported the structure. The throne itself sat on a raised platform at the far end. It was beautiful. It was also, Taewon realized, a perfect defensive position. Soldiers and palace staff began streaming into the room. Admiral Bora arrived with the remaining military commanders. She was wounded, blood running down her silver face, but she still moved with authority. "They are right behind us," she said. "We sealed the main corridors, but they are breaking through. They have numbers we cannot match." "We do not need to match their numbers," Taewon said. "We need to control the battlefield." Everyone turned to look at him. Admiral Bora raised an eyebrow. "You have a plan?" "A suggestion," Taewon said. "If the princess permits?" Princess Yuna wanted to say no. Every instinct told her to refuse help from this human, who had brought her nothing but humiliation. But people were dying. Her people. Her responsibility. "Speak," she commanded. Taewon walked to the center of the room. "The throne room has 3 entrances. We collapse 2 of them. We leave one open and funnel the swarm through it. We place heavy weapons here and here, creating overlapping fields of fire. We use the pillars as cover for riflemen. When the swarm enters, they will be trapped in a kill zone with nowhere to run." A commander objected. "If we collapse the entrances, we trap ourselves too. We will have no escape route." "We do not need an escape route," Taewon said. "We need to hold this position until reinforcements arrive. Running will only get us killed." Admiral Bora studied the layout. Her eyes widened. "It could work. It is brutal and simple, but it could work." "This is insane," another commander said. "We should evacuate the princess to the underground shelters." "The shelters are already compromised," Taewon said quietly. "I saw swarm tunneling creatures in the sensor data this morning. They dug beneath the palace days ago. The shelters are a trap." Princess Yuna felt ice in her veins. "You saw this and said nothing?" "I tried to tell your guards at the war room meeting yesterday," Taewon said. "They did not let me in." Silence. Princess Yuna remembered. She remembered laughing when her guards told her the human had tried to enter the meeting. She remembered calling him presumptuous and foolish. "Do it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Follow his plan." The soldiers moved quickly. Charges were placed on 2 of the 3 entrances. Heavy weapons were positioned exactly where Taewon indicated. Riflemen took positions behind the crystal pillars. Taewon walked the room, checking positions, making small adjustments. Admiral Bora watched him work. She had commanded soldiers for 50 years. She knew what she was seeing. "You are no diplomat," she said quietly. "No," Taewon agreed. "What are you really?" "Right now, I am someone trying to keep people alive." The charges detonated. 2 entrances collapsed in explosions of crystal and stone. Now there was only one way into the throne room. For a moment, everything was quiet. The sounds of battle faded. It was like the universe was holding its breath. Then they came. The first swarm warrior burst through the remaining entrance. It was massive, 12 feet tall, with armor like black metal and claws like swords. Its face was all teeth and eyes and hunger. Behind it came more, dozens, then hundreds. They poured through the entrance in a living tide of death. "Fire!" Admiral Bora screamed. The throne room exploded with weapons fire. Energy bolts and ballistic rounds hammered into the swarm warriors. The creatures shrieked and died, but more came behind them. They climbed over the bodies of their dead. They were fearless and endless. The soldiers fought well, but they were being overwhelmed. The swarm adapted quickly, learning the firing patterns, finding weaknesses in the defense. Princess Yuna stood on the throne platform, firing a weapon she barely knew how to use. Around her, her guards died protecting her. She saw Admiral Bora go down, wounded by swarm acid. She saw soldiers dragged screaming into the mass of monsters. The defensive line was breaking. The swarm was winning. 3 elite swarm warriors broke through the line. They were bigger than the others, their armor thicker, their weapons dripping with poison. They killed everything in their path. The blade sang as it left its sheath. It was not like any weapon Princess Yuna had seen before. The metal glowed with a faint blue light. The edge seemed impossibly thin, like it could cut through reality itself. Strange symbols ran along the flat of the blade, human writing she could not read. The first swarm warrior swung its massive claw at Taewan's head. The blow could have crushed stone. Taewan was not there. He moved like water flowing around the attack. His blade moved in a single precise arc. It passed through the warrior's arm joint, the weakest point in its armor. The limb fell to the floor. The warrior shrieked and attacked with its other claw. Taewan stepped inside its reach, too close for the massive creature to use its strength effectively. His blade flashed twice. The warrior's legs buckled. It fell forward. Taewan stepped aside. The creature hit the ground where he had been standing. His blade came down once more, finding the gap in the armor at the back of the neck. The warrior stopped moving. Total time 3 seconds. The second warrior hesitated. Just for a moment. Just long enough to recognize that this was not prey. This was predator. It died learning that lesson. Taewan moved like a ghost, his footwork perfect, his blade always in motion. He did not waste energy. He did not make unnecessary movements. Every step had purpose. Every cut had meaning. The second warrior fell in pieces. The third warrior was smarter. It called for reinforcements. Its chittering cry echoed through the throne room. More swarm warriors began climbing toward the platform. Taewan reached to his left forearm. Something was attached there, hidden beneath his sleeve. He pressed a control. A compact weapon unfolded from his arm, sleek and deadly. It looked human-made but modified with alien technology. He fired. Energy bolts, precise and controlled, took down the climbing warriors one by one. Each shot hit weak points. Each shot killed. Nothing was wasted. The third elite warrior charged. Taewan holstered the arm weapon and gripped his blade with both hands. The warrior came at him with killing rage, all claws and teeth and fury. Taewan waited. Calm, centered, patient. The warrior lunged. Taewan pivoted, using the creature's momentum against it. His blade cut deep into its side. The warrior crashed into one of the crystal pillars. Before it could recover, Taewan was there. 3 quick strikes, each one finding a gap in the armor. The warrior fell. Taewan stepped back, blade ready, scanning for the next threat. Princess Yuna stared. She could not move, could not breathe, could not process what she was seeing. This was the man she had called a pet. The man she had mocked and humiliated. The man she had said knew nothing of combat. He moved like death itself had taken human form. More swarm warriors were coming, drawn by the cries of the elite fighters. Taewan looked at Princess Yuna. His face was still calm. Only his eyes had changed. They burned with focus and purpose. "Stay behind the throne," he said. "Use it as cover." "I can fight," she protested. "Then fight. But stay alive. That is your job right now." He turned back to face the incoming swarm. He touched something on his wrist. A communication device crackled to life. "Captain Minho, this is Taewan. Authorization code Ghost 77. I need immediate extraction and fire support at these coordinates. Transmitting now." A voice came back, shocked and relieved. "Ghost, is that really you? We thought you were dead. What the hell are you doing on Velcora Prime?" "Long story. Are you in orbit?" "About 3 minutes out. We came as soon as we heard the attack." "Hang on, Ghost, help is coming." Princess Yuna grabbed his arm. "Ghost, what does that mean?" "Who are you?" Taewan looked at her. For a moment, something sad flickered in his eyes. "Someone you never bothered to ask about." He pulled away and moved down the platform toward the main battle. The swarm warriors saw him coming. Some of them recognized his movement patterns. Some of them had fought humans before. They scattered. They tried to scatter. Taewan was already among them. His blade danced. Warriors fell. He moved through them like a scythe through wheat, efficient, deadly, unstoppable. The Velcoran soldiers watched in amazement. They had been losing. They had been dying. Now this human, this creature they had mocked and dismissed, was cutting through the swarm like they were nothing. Admiral Bora pulled herself up from where she had fallen. Blood covered her uniform. Her arm hung useless, but her eyes were sharp. She watched Taewan fight and recognized what she was seeing. "Combat level 10, she whispered. "Maybe higher. How did we not see this?" Lady Hana appeared beside her, helping her stand. "Because we did not look. We saw what we expected to see." "What is he?" "I do not know. But I think we are about to find out." Taewan continued fighting. He used everything around him as a weapon. He collapsed pillars to crush groups of warriors. He triggered defensive systems that had been dormant for years. He turned the throne room itself into a trap, and while he fought, he talked. His voice calm and controlled, coordinating with someone through his communication device. Targeting data uploaded. Swarm concentration points marked. Human ships, you are clear to engage. Outside, the sky lit up with weapons fire. Human warships had arrived in orbit. They were smaller than Velcoran vessels, uglier, less elegant. But they were effective. Precision strikes hit swarm positions throughout the city. The pressure on the palace eased. The endless tide of warriors began to thin. Princess Yuna fought beside her remaining guards. She was not skilled, but she was brave. She fired her weapon at any swarm warrior that came near. She protected wounded soldiers who could not protect themselves, and she watched Taewon. Really watched him for the first time. He was not showing off. He was not trying to impress anyone. He was simply doing a job with perfect proficiency. Every movement was calculated. Every decision was tactical. He fought like someone who had done this 1,000 times before, because he had. She realized that now. This was not his first battle. This was not even his 100th. A swarm warrior broke through and charged at Princess Yuna. She raised her weapon, but it was empty. The warrior's claws came down. Taewon was there. He moved so fast he seemed to teleport. His blade intercepted the claws. The impact rang like a bell. He twisted, redirecting the force, and cut through the warrior's chest. "Are you hurt?" he asked Princess Yuna. No. Good. Stay close to your guards." He moved away again, back to the main fight. Princess Yuna watched him go. She wanted to say something. To thank him. To apologize. But the words stuck in her throat. The battle raged for another 20 minutes. Then 30. The swarm kept coming, but they were dying faster than they could advance. The human ships provided cover fire. Velcoran reinforcements arrived from other parts of the city. Slowly, the tide turned. Taewon stood in the center of the throne room, surrounded by dead swarm warriors. His blade was still glowing, still clean despite all the blood around him. His breathing was controlled. His stance ready, but no more warriors came. The battle was over. Slowly, the soldiers began to realize they had won. Cheers started to echo through the throne room. People hugged each other. Some cried with relief. Admiral Bora limped over to Taewon. She looked at him like she was seeing a ghost. "I know you now. I have read reports. The ghost of the borderlands. The human who destroyed 200 swarm nests alone. The legend we thought was propaganda." Taewon cleaned his blade with a cloth. "Not propaganda. Just classified. Why did you hide this? Why did you let us treat you like nothing?" "Because the mission was not about my pride," Taewon said quietly. "It was about the alliance. About bringing our peoples together. If I had shown up as a famous warrior, I would have been a threat. This way I was just a diplomat, someone safe, someone forgettable." "Forgettable?" Admiral Bora laughed bitterly. "We are fools. All of us." Princess Yuna walked down from the throne platform. Her dress was torn and dirty. Her face was streaked with dust and blood. But she held herself with dignity. She stopped in front of Taewon. For a long moment she just looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw him for what he was. "You saved my life," she said. "I did my duty." "No. You saved my life when you could have let me die, after everything I said to you. Everything I did to you. You could have walked away." Taewon met her eyes. "That was never an option. Why not?" "Because you are my wife. Because these are my people now too. Because it is right." Princess Yuna felt something break inside her chest. All her pride, all her arrogance, all her certainty that she was better than this human. It crumbled like dust. "I was wrong," she whispered. "About everything. About you. About humans." "I'm sorry," Taewon bowed his head. "Apology accepted. That is it? Nothing else?" "What else is there?" Taewon asked. "The battle is won. People are alive because we work together. That is all that matters." Captain Minho's voice came through the communication device. "Ghost, we have the city secured. The swarm is in full retreat. The fleet is pursuing. How are you holding up?" "Alive," Taewon said. "Tired. Mission complete." "Good work, Ghost. Command is going to want a full report." "They always do." Taewon closed the communication link. He looked around the throne room, at the wounded soldiers, at the celebrating survivors, at Princess Yuna standing before him with tears in her golden eyes. "We should help the wounded," he said. "There is much work to do." He started to walk away. Princess Yuna caught his arm. Wait, please, I need to know. Who are you really? Not the diplomat. Not the husband I was forced to marry. The war room had been rebuilt. New holographic displays showed the aftermath of the battle. The swarm had retreated from Velcora Prime, but they were still out there, regrouping, adapting. The war was far from over. Taewon stood at the main display, studying enemy positions. He had changed into clean clothes, but he still wore his weapon harness. The blade rested at his side, always within reach. Princess Yuna entered the room. She had also changed and cleaned up. Her silver skin gleamed in the soft light. But something about her was different. She walked differently now, carried herself differently. The arrogance was gone. The casualties, she asked quietly. 247 dead, Taewon said. Another 300 wounded. Considering how bad it could have been, we were fortunate. Fortunate, she repeated bitterly. Those people died because I was too proud to listen, too stupid to see what was right in front of me. They died because war is brutal and unpredictable, Taewon corrected gently. You cannot blame yourself for every death. But I can learn from them. I should have consulted you earlier. I should have asked for help. My pride cost lives. Taewon turned to face her. Yes, it did. But now you know better. The question is, what will you do with that knowledge? Princess Yuna stepped closer to the display. She studied the tactical information, really looked at it. I want to learn. Teach me how you see battles. Teach me how humans fight. Teach me to be better. That will take time. We have time now, thanks to you. Over the next few hours, they worked together. Taewon showed her how he analyzed enemy patterns, how he identified weak points in defenses, how he predicted where the swarm would strike next. Princess Yuna listened. She asked questions. She learned. For the first time, she saw the war through human eyes. It was brutal and simple and terrifyingly effective. You do not think like we do, she observed. Velcorans plan for elegant solutions, perfect strategies. You plan for chaos. Because war is chaos, Taewon said. The side that adapts fastest wins. The swarm understands this. That is why they are so dangerous. They evolve faster than most species can react, but not faster than humans. Not yet, but they will learn. They always do. Admiral Bora entered the war room. Her arm was in a regeneration brace and her face still showed bruises. But she moved with determination. Your Highness, we have received word from your father. He is returning to Velcora Prime immediately. Princess Yuna nodded. I expected as much. He will want a full report. He will also want to meet with General Taewon. Admiral Bora looked at him with new respect in her eyes. The Emperor has reviewed the battle records. He has seen what you did. He has questions. I imagine he does, Taewon said. He is also very grateful. As am I. You saved my life during the battle. I have not forgotten. Taewon bowed his head. You would have done the same. Perhaps. But I still owe you a debt. After Admiral Bora left, Princess Yuna turned to Taewon. My father will be angry that I kept you in the dark about your true identity. That I wasted such a valuable resource. I kept myself in the dark, Taewon said. That was my choice. I could have revealed who I was at any time. Why did you not? Taewon walked to the window. Outside, repair crews were working to fix the damage to the city. Smoke still rose from some districts. It would take months to rebuild. Because I wanted to know if the alliance could work, he said. If humans and Velcorans could truly come together. If I had shown up as the ghost as a famous warrior, I would have been respected out of fear. But respect born from fear is not real respect. I wanted to see if your people could accept humans as equals, not just as useful weapons. And your conclusion? Most cannot, not yet. But some can. Admiral Bora, Lady Hana, a few others. That is a start. Princess Yuna felt shame burn through her. And me, can I? Taewon turned to look at her. You are trying. That is more than you were doing before. It is not enough. I treated you worse than anyone. I made your life miserable. Yes, you did. I want to make it right. Then stand beside me, Taewon said. Not behind me. Not in front of me, beside me. That is all I have ever wanted from this marriage. A partner. Someone who sees humans as people, not as tools or pets or curiosities. Princess Yuna walked over to stand beside him at the window. They looked out at the damaged city together. I can do that. I want to do that. But I do not know how to fix what I broke. You start by being honest. By working together. By listening. I am listening now. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Princess Yuna asked, "Tell me about the ghost. About who you were before you became my husband." Taewon was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was distant. "I was a soldier on the border worlds. We fought the swarm for years before the rest of the galaxy even knew they existed. I watched colonies burn. I watched friends die. I learned that the swarm does not negotiate, does not retreat, does not care about anything except consuming everything in their path. How many battles? Too many to count. I stopped keeping track after the first 100. I just kept fighting because someone had to, because if we did not stop them on the border worlds, they would spread to everywhere else. And the name, the ghost? The swarm started calling me that. They have a kind of collective memory. They share experiences. I destroyed so many of their nests that I became a pattern in their consciousness. Something that appeared and killed and disappeared. A ghost. Princess Yuna looked at him with new understanding. You have been fighting this war for longer than most people know the war exists. Yes. You must be so tired. Taewon smiled sadly. Every day. But the war does not care if I am tired. It continues regardless. Not alone anymore, Princess Yuna said firmly. From now on, you have help. You have me. You have my military. You have my people. We fight together. Before Taewon could respond, alarm sounded again. Both of them tensed. Admiral Bora's voice came through the communication system. Your Highness, we are detecting a massive energy signature at the edge of the system. It is the main swarm fleet. They are preparing to jump into orbit. Taewon and Princess Yuna ran to the tactical display. The image showed hundreds of swarm ships approaching. The earlier attack had been a probe. This was the real invasion. How long? Princess Yuna asked. 2 hours until they arrive. Taewon studied the display. His mind was already calculating, planning, adapting. We cannot stop that many ships with what we have here. We need to evacuate. Evacuate the entire planet? Princess Yuna said. That is impossible in 2 hours, not the entire planet. The capital city. Get people into the underground shelters. Move defensive forces to key positions. Make the swarm fight for every meter. That is just delaying the inevitable. No, Taewon said. That is buying time for reinforcements to arrive. He activated his communication device. Captain Minho, I need you to contact every human fleet within 3 systems. Tell them the ghost is calling in every favor. Every debt, every promise. I need ships here now. That is a lot of favors, Ghost. I know, but this is the battle that matters. If Velcora Prime falls, the swarm will control this entire sector. Make the calls. On it, Princess Yuna watched him work. He moved with confidence and authority. He coordinated with human ships. He advised Velcoran commanders. He turned chaos into order. You should be in command, she said. Not me, you are better at this. No, Taewon said. This is your world, your people. You need to lead them. I will advise. I will fight, but the command is yours. I do not know if I can do this. You can. You are your father's daughter. You are strong and smart. You just need to trust yourself. Princess Yuna took a deep breath. She looked at the tactical display, at the incoming threat, at her people who needed her to be strong. All right, she said. What do we do first? Together they began planning the defense. Taewon suggested strategies. Princess Yuna made decisions. They worked as a team, each one complementing the other. Admiral Bora and other commanders arrived. They listened to Princess Yuna give orders with confidence and clarity. They saw Taewon standing beside her, offering advice when needed but never taking over. The princess has changed, Admiral Bora whispered to Lady Hana. No, Lady Hana whispered back. She has finally become who she was meant to be. 2 hours later, the swarm fleet arrived. The battle that followed was massive and brutal. Swarm ships filled the sky like locusts. Velcoran defenses fought desperately, but help arrived. Human fleets from 3 systems jumped into the battle. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they brought chaos and unpredictability. They used tactics the swarm had never seen before. On the ground, Princess Yuna commanded the defense of the capital. Taewon fought where the battle was thickest. They communicated constantly, coordinating their efforts. The battle raged for 3 days. Both sides suffered terrible losses. The outcome remained uncertain. On the 3rd day, Emperor Daeho arrived with the main Velcoran fleet. He brought ships from a dozen allied worlds. The tide turned. The swarm began to retreat. When the battle finally ended, Velcora Prime was damaged but alive. The swarm had been pushed back. Not defeated. Not destroyed. But stopped. Emperor Deho called a victory gathering in the rebuilt throne room. Survivors filled the chamber. Soldiers, civilians, leaders from many worlds, the Emperor stood before them all. Princess Yuna stood at his right hand. Taewon stood at her right hand.